The housing market just did something that should be mathematically impossible. Transaction volume just hit its lowest point since 1995, fewer homes selling than at any point in 30 years, and home prices near all-time highs at the same time. Fewer buyers, higher prices. That's not how markets work. You learned supply and demand in 8th grade. So did I. And yet, here we are. If you've tried to buy a home recently, you already know something is deeply wrong. You just can't quite explain what. Today, we're going to fix that. Every domino in order with the actual numbers, so that when you make your next move, you're making it with your eyes open. And if you want to keep running the real math on stuff like this, subscribe. Let's get into it. The median existing home price right now is about $418,000. In 2019, 6 years ago, it was $272,000. That's a 46% jump. Not in Manhattan, not in Palo Alto, nationally, the dead middle of the entire country. Mortgage rates are sitting around 6.5%, which sounds manageable until you remember that in January 2021, you could get a 30-year fixed mortgage for 2.65%. That is a completely different financial planet. Here's what that gap means in actual dollars. Same house, $400,000 purchase price, 20% down, $320,000 mortgage. At 2.65%, your monthly payment is $1,293. At today's 6.5%, that same loan costs $2,023 a month. That's $730 more per month, every month, for 30 years, for the same house, same carpet, same school district, same yard the size of a generous parking space, and the house itself costs $146,000 more than it did 6 years ago. So you're paying more for the loan and more for the house, both at the same time. This is not bad luck. It's the output of a very specific sequence of decisions and shocks that piled on top of each other over 5 years. Once you understand the sequence, the current situation stops feeling like chaos and starts feeling like an almost inevitable outcome. The year is 2020. The Federal Reserve, in a state of emergency financial panic, slashes rates to basically zero and starts buying $120 billion in bonds and mortgage-backed securities every single month, injecting money into the system with the commitment of someone who started a bonfire and is now slightly worried they used too much lighter fluid. By January 2021, the 30-year fixed mortgage hit 2.65%, the lowest Freddie Mac had recorded since 1971. People who'd been sitting on the fence suddenly realized they could afford dramatically more house for the same monthly payment. So they bought, and bought, and bought some more. But that was only half the fuel. The pandemic rewired what Americans needed from their homes. Suddenly, your apartment was your office, your gym, your school, your restaurant. A 700-square-foot place that used to feel fine suddenly felt like a sensory deprivation tank with a Wi-Fi password. Remote work exploded from under 6% to over 18% almost overnight. And millions of people started asking a reasonable question. If I can work from anywhere, why am I paying $2,800 a month to live somewhere I don't actually like? So they left. Manhattan shed 200,000 households. San Francisco, Chicago, and Los Angeles each lost tens of thousands. And all of them descended on Austin, Phoenix, Boise, Nashville, Tampa, places with already tight inventory that suddenly had a stampede of buyers with pre-approvals, pandemic savings, and a desperate need for a home office that wasn't also a closet. National home prices jumped 37% between March 2020 and March 2022, not over a decade, 2 years. Austin climbed 61%, Phoenix 59%, Boise, Idaho, up 53%. At the peak, nearly 6,000 homes sold for $100,000 or more above asking price in a single month. If you bought in 2020 or 2021, you probably made one of the best financial decisions of your life almost entirely by accident. That's not skill, that's timing. And for everyone who wasn't in a position to buy during that window, what happened next made everything dramatically worse. By mid-2022, inflation was running at 9.1%, the highest in 40 years, so the Fed did what central banks do, 11 rate hikes in 16 months, from 0.25% to 5.50%, the fastest tightening cycle in 4 decades. Mortgage rates followed in the worst possible direction. January 2022, 3.22%. October 2022, 7.08%. October 2023, 7.79%, the highest since 2000. On the same houses people were paying $100,000 over asking for 18 months earlier. At 7.79%, that $320,000 mortgage costs $2,320 a month versus $1,293 at the pandemic low. That's over $1,000 more per month. $363,000 more over the life of the loan for the exact same house. To buy the median-priced home at today's 6.5%, you need to earn around $106,000 a year just to qualify. The median household income is $83,700. The average American family is $22,000 per year short of qualifying for the average house. Home sales fell from 6.12 million in 2021 to just over 4 million today, the slowest stretch the market has seen since the mid-95. We are selling fewer homes in a country with 100 million more people than 1995 than we sold in 1995. But here's the part that should break your brain. Prices didn't fall. Right now, about 51% of all outstanding U.S. mortgages carry a rate below 4%. Roughly 20% carry a rate below 3%. If you bought in 2020 or 2021 and locked in 2.75%, you are sitting on a financial instrument that no longer exists. The bank will not recreate it. The market cannot offer it. It is gone, like a limited edition item that sold out and never restocked. So if you sell your house and buy another one today, you're not just moving. You're voluntarily surrendering the cheapest money you will almost certainly ever access in your lifetime, and replacing it with money that costs more than twice as much. On a $400,000 mortgage, that swap costs $730 more per month. Every month, forever. That's $87,600 over a decade, just in interest, just for having the audacity to want to live somewhere different. Federal Reserve researchers put the average lock-in cost, the pure financial penalty of trading your old mortgage for a new one, at over $65,000. $65,000 to leave. So, the rational homeowner stays. In the house that's too small. In the neighborhood where they stopped knowing their neighbors 3 years ago. Not because they want to stay. Because a spreadsheet is physically keeping them there. The Atlanta Fed found this effect reduces the probability that any homeowner lists their home by 21 to 23%. Researchers estimated it has suppressed 1.7 million transactions that would otherwise have happened. Active inventory is still 17% below 2019 levels. The market isn't broken in the sense that it's collapsing. It's broken in the sense that it has completely stopped moving, like a door that won't open or close, just stuck. If you want to understand who's getting squeezed hardest, let me introduce you to someone. Let's call her Maya. She's 31, works in healthcare administration in a normal mid-sized city, makes $74,000 a year, above the national median, no credit card debt, a 760 credit score, $31,000 saved over 3 years of genuine sacrifice, skipped vacations, no new car, one roommate longer than she wanted. By any reasonable standard, Maya is exactly the person homeownership was designed for. Here's what the market offers her in return. The median home in her city is $385,000. With 10% down, her loan is $346,500. At 6.5%, her monthly principal and interest is $2,190. Add property taxes, $350. Insurance, $150. Maintenance reserve, $320. Total monthly cost, $3,010. Maya takes home about $4,650 a month. Housing would eat 65% of it. She'd have $1,640 left for food, transportation, health insurance, utilities, student loans, and the occasional reminder that she is a human being with a social life. She cannot afford this house. Not because she's irresponsible, because the income required to comfortably buy the median home in her market is $110,000, and she makes $74,000. The gap isn't a personal failing. It's structural. It's baked into the math. And there are millions of Mayas, financially solid people being told by every cultural signal around them that they should own a home by now, while being quietly excluded by numbers that never appear in those signals. Here's what that actually feels like. It doesn't feel like a crisis. It feels like opening Zillow for the 16th time this week and saving a house you know you can't afford, just to have somewhere to put the feeling. It feels like watching your rent go up $150 in March and realizing your down payment timeline just got 3 months longer. It feels like going to your best friend's housewarming, genuinely happy for them, while involuntarily calculating what their monthly payment must be. First-time buyers now make up just 21% of all purchases, a record low in 44 years of tracking. The historical norm is 40%. The median age of a first-time buyer is now 40. In the early 1990s, it was 28. Buying at 40 instead of 30 costs roughly $150,000 in lost lifetime equity from the decade of appreciation you missed. Meanwhile, baby boomers make up 42% of all buyers. Half of older boomers are buying entirely in cash. They sold a house they bought for $200,000 in 1998 that's now worth $700,000, pocketed the equity, and walked in with no mortgage dependency, while the 32-year-old is trying to win a bidding war with a pre-approval letter and $31,000 saved. 1 in 6 aspiring buyers and 22% of millennials have given up on homeownership entirely. Not paused. Given up. If this is landing for you and you want more breakdowns like this, hit subscribe. There's one more section coming that covers what you should actually do with all of this. The shortage didn't start in 2020. It was assembled piece by piece over 15 years of underbuilding after 2008. The U.S. is short somewhere between 3.5 and 4.5 million housing units. After the financial crisis, builders pulled back hard through the entire 2000s and 10s. Housing starts averaged about 990,000 per year against a historical baseline of 1.5 million. And what got built skewed heavily toward the upper end of the market, because that's where the margins are. The starter home, under 1,400 square feet, the traditional entry point for first-time buyers, went from over 400,000 units a year in the 1970s to just 65,000 in 2020, an 80% decline. The house that was supposed to be the beginning of the wealth-building ladder for working Americans was essentially discontinued as a product. Then came the pandemic surge. Then the rate spike. And now tariffs. Steel up 50%, aluminum up 50%, Canadian lumber up 45%, adding an estimated $10,000 to $17,500 to the cost of every new home. The supply problem took a decade to create. It will take at least a decade to meaningfully solve. There is no policy lever anyone can pull that builds 4 million homes in 2 years. At some point in every housing conversation, someone asks it, is this 2008? No, not even close. And understanding why matters. In 2006 and 2007, subprime mortgages made up 18 to 21% of all originations. Liar loans, interest-only products, negative amortization mortgages. The banking system was betting on home prices rising forever using borrowed money with zero margin for error. Today, subprime lending is just 3.6 to 4.2% of originations. Median credit scores are 758, about 50 points above 2006. In 2009, 26% of mortgaged homes were underwater. Today, it's 2.2%. Homeowners hold $35.8 trillion in equity. Foreclosures in 2024 were 174,100. In 2008, they hit 2.3 million. The 2008 crisis came from reckless lending, weak borrowers, and fake valuations. Today is almost the opposite. Lending is stronger, borrowers are qualified, equity is real, and affordability is still broken. This is not a fragile market. It's a frozen, expensive one. Instead of crashing, it grinds sideways while eating more of people's income. The honest forecast? A slow correction. Prices move sideways while incomes slowly rise. What does that mean for you? Buy based on your numbers, not headlines. If housing costs stay below 28 to 30% of gross income and you'll stay 7 years, buying can make sense. If the math fails, it fails. Stretching to 45% of income makes you vulnerable. Now you know why. If this helped, like and subscribe.